For 12 years, a man drifted silently through the vast dark of low Earth orbit. Nobody outside a handful of people knew he was there. His name was James Doohan, and while his body lay in an earthbound grave, a part of him, carried in 3 laminated cards, was completing a journey he had never taken in life. He was circling the planet every 90 minutes, crossing from light to darkness, from day to night, accumulating a path through the cosmos that would eventually span nearly 1.7 billion miles. James Doohan died in July 2005, at the age of 85. He left behind a career that had spanned decades and touched the lives of millions. He was Scottish-born, the son of a chemist, and he had come to North America as a young man searching for work. What he found was more than employment. He found Star Trek. From 1966 onward, for multiple television series and films, he inhabited the role of Chief Engineer Montgomery Scotty Scott. He was not the captain, not the science officer, not the navigator. He was the engineer, the man who kept the engines running, who understood the machinery at a level that approached intimacy. When the Enterprise faced disaster, Scotty was the one who talked to the ship, who coaxed impossible performance from stressed-out systems, who solved problems through ingenuity and sheer force of will. Doohan brought something to that character that transcended the script. He gave Scotty a personality that millions of viewers recognized in themselves. A working person's ethic, a pride in craftsmanship, an accent that made technical jargon sound like poetry. Kids who grew up watching him imagined themselves as engineers, imagined themselves fixing broken ships and broken worlds. He became, for an entire generation, the embodiment of what an engineer could be. Not just smart, but essential. Not just competent, but heroic. When Doohan passed away, the tributes were extensive, but ultimately earthbound. His coffin was buried. His legacy lived on through reruns and films. But his son Chris had a different vision. 3 years after his father's death, in 2008, Chris learned that Richard Garriott, a video game designer and entrepreneur, was preparing to launch toward the International Space Station as a space tourist. Garriott was one of a rare handful of private citizens with the means and access to reach orbit, and Chris Doohan saw an opportunity that seemed almost poetic. He called Richard Garriott just days before the scheduled launch. The request was direct and audacious. When you reach the ISS, carry my father there with you. Take him to space. Do it secretly if you have to. Do not tell the authorities beforehand. Make it happen. Garriott, who understood the symbolic weight of what Doohan was asking, said yes. But the next challenge was immediate and brutal. How do you sneak human remains past NASA's screening procedures, past customs officials, past every scanner and inspector whose job was to verify that nothing unauthorized made it onto the station? The answer came from lateral thinking. Garriott and his team prepared James Doohan's ashes, not as a labeled container, but as contents of 3 laminated cards. Each card bore Doohan's photograph and his name. They were crafted to resemble personal keepsakes or mementos. Then they concealed all 3 cards within Garriott's approved flight data file, the stack of printed materials, personal photographs, and documents that space tourists are permitted to bring aboard as authorized personal items. The screening process flagged nothing. The laminated cards passed inspection, hidden in plain sight among the allowed materials. On October 12, 2008, Garriott launched on Soyuz TMA-13M toward the ISS. He docked at the station 7 days later. Once inside the Columbus module, the European laboratory component that projects from the main body of the station, Garriott retrieved the 3 cards from his flight documents. What happened next was a moment of pure intention and silence. Garriott kept the first card for himself, a personal memento. The second card, he took to a module window and released it into the vacuum of space, allowing James Doohan's ashes to drift eternally through the cosmos, unmoored from any surface, untethered to any world. The third card, he carefully concealed beneath a floor panel in the Columbus module, embedding it permanently inside humanity's orbital laboratory. Doohan's ashes were now split across 3 locations, one in the protective custody of the man who brought them there, one free-floating in the infinite void, and one locked inside the metal corridors of the ISS. The man who had spent his entire career keeping a fictional ship running now had his final resting place distributed across the actual frontier. And then the story went silent. For 12 years, Chris Doohan and Richard Garriott kept their secret. The third card remained beneath the Columbus module floor panel, accumulating dust and the subtle vibrations of equipment. Doohan continued his orbit, if you could call it that, crossing the terminator between light and dark 16 times each day, 70,000 times over 12 years, accumulating a total distance of nearly 1.7 billion miles. He was traveling farther than any human being had ever traveled while deceased. Nobody outside the core group knew. The astronauts and cosmonauts who worked in the Columbus module had no idea that James Doohan was literally beneath their feet. Fans of Star Trek continued watching reruns, unaware that Scotty had made it to space at last, in a manner that no script could have imagined. The secret held. Then, just before Christmas 2020, the Times of London published Richard Garriott's account. Within days, the story ignited across social media and news outlets. Suddenly, millions learned that James Doohan, the engineer who had inspired generations to dream about space exploration, had finally reached orbit. The tribute was unorthodox. The method was unauthorized. The timing was unusual. But the poetry was undeniable. The actor, who had embodied engineering excellence, had been given a final mission that transcended any television script. What Garriott and Chris Doohan had done raised questions that remained without clear answers. Was it smuggling? Yes, technically. Was it against regulations? Absolutely. Was it beautiful? That question lingered too. They had executed an act of love disguised as audacious rule-breaking. They had honored a man whose entire career was built on transcending limitations. And they had done it so carefully, so completely, that the universe kept the secret for over a decade. James Doohan remains there still. One card orbits in the void itself, silent and eternal. One rests hidden beneath a floor panel in the Columbus module, waiting to be discovered someday, perhaps years or decades from now, by a future astronaut who will understand immediately what was done and why. One is held safely by the man who made the impossible journey possible. And in that configuration, distributed across the extremes of human experience and ingenuity, James Doohan completed the final voyage that no script could have written, but that every engineer could have understood. A journey beyond the frontier, completed at last, traveling distances that most of us will never comprehend.